Hello, everyone. I'm David Marshall, along with Brian Ducharme, and we'd like to welcome you today to the VMblog's coverage of the KubeCon CloudNativeCon 2025 EU event taking place in London. And today we have the pleasure of having Alex Freedland, the co-founder, and CEO of Mirantis. Alex, welcome to the show.
A pleasure to be here.
For the folks who may not be as familiar with Mirantis, maybe if you can just kick things off and give a quick introduction about the company.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do so. So, of course, Mirantis has been in the world of cloud for now more than 15 years. We originally started as the OpenStack guys and got known by building the original cloud native infrastructure. Then, of course, when the container revolution hit, we joined that by acquiring Docker enterprise business. And so we have a very large portfolio of Kubernetes-based workloads all over the world. And we're basically known as the company is an open source or open strategic infrastructure company. So we have thousands of customers all over the world, but the ones we truly partner with are those who think of their infrastructure as very, very strategic. They want to control the cost, the quality, the scale, right? And we partner with these kind of companies to really create, very, very, very strong solutions, and of course help them scale for the modern workload.
Now, for KubeCon attendees that are listening to this, what are some of the specific problems that you see them facing that your company solves for them?
Well, there's two problems that in general we're seeing, right? There's the traditional computing, and traditional computing, for the most part, people are trying to understand how to run more with less, how to be more efficient, how to support, scale without a lot of budget, and, a lot of kind of nervousness comes in from kind of VMware situation that creates costs, and that becomes a force function for many customers we're talking to, becomes a force function for how to re-architect all of their cloud infrastructure to be more future-proof and to be a lot more efficient. And of course, there is a huge challenge that's coming in on what's so-called accelerated computing, which is the introduction of AI. And until recently, AI was mostly kind of a training problem, and people did try to train models or use trained models to from SaaS players like OpenAI, try to kind of figure this out. But what's happening now is there is a large movement finally to kind of get AI applications at scale. And this is switch from training to inferencing. And of course, once inferencing starts to hit, it's actually a very, very demanding and a very, very distributed workload that requires a whole different set of infrastructure challenges. So actually getting both of them at the same time solved is what people are grappling with.
Yeah, it's a great job explaining some of the problems, challenges that you guys are solving. Is there any way you can maybe walk us through a real-world customer success story that showcases the impact of Mirantis technology?
Well, there's a lot, but let me give you one that's sort of a future leaning. And we have a customer in Europe that is a sovereign AI cloud service provider, right? So they work within the country and they're highly regulated because of the AI data security rules and all that. And originally we got them because they needed to orchestrate their infrastructure and do it at a lower cost. And clearly VMware was not, with the price gouging, it wasn't something that they would choose. So they started with our OpenStack solution to become essentially serve VMs with the right GPUs and all that. And then very quickly they understood that it was great for GPU as a service, and it was wonderful for their training business. But more and more customers were looking to actually run inference workloads on their thing. So we actually installed our new product called k0rdent, which we launched officially in open source about a month ago, right? But it's actually already having a quite a following. There's a large ecosystem building around it, and so k0rdent then is running to orchestrate the infrastructure. And one of our partnerships that we're sending is allowing to run a full-fledged, very robust inferencing solution on top of this whole infrastructure, and really we're able to turn it on in a matter of weeks, right? So now suddenly what used to be just a training type of workload business, it's open for inferencing. And when we're talking to our the CEO of this company, it's clear that in their mind the size of the market for inferencing is going to be 50 times more than training. So everything we know now, take it times 50, and that's what we're enabling.
Now at KubeCon, there's going to be lots of vendors showcasing their technologies and solutions in the show floor. How does Mirantis differentiate their technology from the others, and what makes your technology unique?
I think it's a two-dimensional question, right? One is specifically how do we differentiate on technology? And the second is why would anybody care, and is technology the only reason, right? So I will answer both, right? So k0rdent, of course, is more than just a technology, right? As a technology, it allows you to orchestrate Kubernetes clusters, which has been done before, and there are fleet management tools that actually do this. However, the way we're approaching this is we actually build tooling and capability for MLOps and the old DevOps platform teams, so they can use this to actually not only create and manage the infrastructure that's required, but also attach to the existing ones, whether it's on public cloud or a private cloud or on a future cloud, and essentially create a composable infrastructure that is future-proof, allows you to have whatever is coming, and an optionality we call it composability is enabling that, but also work with legacy. So if you have your VMware environment, if you have something existing inside your Azure or on-prem or what have you, this tool will allow you to take all of that and give you good way to actually manage all of your infrastructure, right? So that's on the technology. I don't think anybody's doing this. Plus, we're doing this in open source per se, which means that we're using the power of Kubernetes itself to be that ultimate control point. And many people have tried to create, these type of control points for very complex environments, and that ultimately usually fails because while it can solve an operational problem, it actually doesn't solve the problem of freedom and ability to actually control your own destiny, because it just creates another choke point. With Kubernetes, I would say, graduating to become an Uber control point itself, we're just using the pure power of Kubernetes and CAPI to connect to all of the infrastructure, and then just make it very, very easy for the platform teams to manage all their environments and be future-proof. So that's the technological angle. The business angle, of course, is becoming even more important, because it actually allows you with this approach to do plug and play of various infrastructure components and platform tool components, and be future-proof as the innovation is happening, especially on the AI side, and bring the best of breed partners. And then these partners also understand that it's a path into the into the customer ecosystem. So within 1 month, we got more than 20 partners at every layer, and we're now creating an open source the self-certification and ability to kind of put their own templates, we call it, and make sure they run and they make sure they're part of the ecosystem. So it's not dissimilar how we did it when OpenStack first became a thing, and we were doing this all in the open. And those of you who kind of remember those days, remember there was a tool called Stackalytics that was really, really popular that everybody has used. And there we were we were, not we, but the community, but we were one of the most active members of the community. So we did a lot of curating there. But in Stackalytics, there was this whole driver page that curated all the infrastructure compatibilities. And we're doing the same thing now with k0rdent up in the open. It's all Apache 2, and it's going to be curated by the community at every layer, the infra layer, at the platform layer, and the application layer.
Now, Brian and I have had the pleasure of visiting the Mirantis booth at a number of different trade shows over the years. Always had great conversations, great demos of your product at the booth. Sticking with the discussion around your technology, what specific innovations or features will your company be highlighting at your booth that you can talk about this year? Or is there any other, things about the technology that a booth attendee should know about ahead of time that you haven't already discussed?
Well, I mean, we always do things that everybody is kind of used to us. We showcase things we're doing with our Lens product, which is very popular, Kubernetes IDE, and it's even becoming more popular now. And of course, now that K0s has become part of CNCF, even more, connection to people using Kubernetes. But beyond that, of course, the AI story, right, that is becoming more interesting. So there's a core partnership that we are showcasing because it's so actionable with our partner G-Core, which is a very, very well-established service provider in Luxembourg. But what they've done is they've taken their inferencing product and they made it available on top of k0rdent, which means we can now do inferencing everywhere. And I already told the story that how we were able to, in a matter of weeks, make this a real solution for a key European service provider. But it actually can run anywhere, and it will be a great way for large enterprises to actually take inferencing and make it work instantly. And it doesn't matter if it's on edge, it's in geographically dispersed and all that. So we are able to, that will be definitely a demo that people should pay attention to. Of course, k0rdent itself, how can k0rdent be in the ecosystem and how easy it is to, to take existing infrastructure and new infrastructure and just make that one very, very easily manageable control point. And this will be done by our open source people because we're not really pushing our product per se. We're pushing the ecosystem, and the more people will use it, the more people will contribute to it, the better it's going to be. So I think between these angles, I think it's going to be a very, very, very interesting content. And of course, we're back in, typical Mirantis fun ways. So there'll be good goodies and provocative pictures and giveaways and all that, which we kind of haven't done for a couple of years. But now that we have so much to share, our spunk is back.
It seems that AI is really taking over and becoming one of the main themes around these shows. What are some of the key trends that Mirantis is seeing taking shape in 2025 and beyond? And how is this affecting your roadmap and aligning with some of your developments?
Well, I think the main trend that we're seeing is AI is moving from let's build infrastructure and models that shock the world to let's build applications that actually take advantage of this. And we're seeing the market is reacting a little nervously because of all those hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars really, that went into building the infrastructure for AI. Unless it turns into applications, nothing will matter, right? So now we're starting the long tail of applications boom, and this is the year, right? So the biggest challenge is as you start scaling applications that are built essentially as agents running on top of models and take advantage of all the data, inside of the organization, this will require invisible infrastructure to be able to support that level of scaling. And what's amazing about this is that what used to be a niche type of workload, an HPC type of workload that maybe some highly computationally intensive companies like in semiconductor space or like in weather prediction or NASA would use, right? So it was a little niche space called HPC. Now every AI workload is an HPC workload. So it's easy to imagine that every application will essentially be an agentic front end with an HPC workload running on the back end, running on top of GPU, complex GPU infrastructure. So that is the main challenge that we have to solve for, and that needs to be invisible and support that level of scaling with very little latency, with incredible caching and ability to deliver this on edge almost instantaneously. So in the world of cloud and the world of infrastructure, it's always a killer app that decides what happens. So in the first generation of applications, the only private cloud that ever succeeded were Google, Facebook, and ultimately the three public clouds, because they were the private clouds that brought everybody else's workloads, right? There was never truly a killer app for a private and hybrid cloud for everybody else. And I believe that the advent of AI and AI inferencing finally creates the killer app that will take this infrastructure to the new level, and hybrid cloud, which is Kubernetes abstracted, multi-cluster world, will become an essential thing to be able to support that revolution. So with that, of course, k0rdent is that fabric, and we want more and more people to join our community. And there is a large roadmap, and our open source people will be sharing what exactly we're doing, what the challenges are, and we'd like to hear back from the community as to what the challenges are and join us in actually building the solutions for that. But as far as what we are doing ourselves is, first and foremost, we need to make sure that the bare metal orchestration, as an example, of the GPU infrastructure is done correctly, so we can serve in the real time and correctly the right, combination of the GPU infrastructure, make sure it's sliced properly and everything else. We need to work on caching and delivering things on edge, right? And many, many more things of that nature. All of that is ongoing. All of that is happening out there in the community. And the faster we do it and the larger community will be, the easier it will be to kind of jump and build a standard so that all of us are pushing in the same direction.
And finally, Alex, we talked about it. There's going to be a lot of vendors, hundreds of vendors on the expo floor. So a lot of people talking about a lot of different things, a lot of different technologies. For the attendees that come to the Mirantis booth, what message would you like them to take and walk away with and bring back with them back to the office?
The main message is that open source is, again, alive and well, and open source is the only way, certainly for infrastructure, and especially in the world of AI, to bring innovation. Because without open source, you rely on a small subset of maybe very good companies, but ultimately they create friction and they create lock-in, right? Open source is the only way to truly innovate, bring together, huge amount of talent from all over the world and move much faster. So in 2010, when we started working with OpenStack was truly the first very large scale project that was an innovation led. Before that, open source was more of a commoditization movement. We did whatever was existing before, but cheaper. And then it ushered a way for innovation, with OpenStack and then, Cloudera, the Hadoop and more. And of course, Kubernetes is now a testament to that, right? So it's very important that many people get together and do things in open source. And of course, Linux Foundation and CNCF is the largest curator of that. They're also bringing other foundations into the fold. So our message is, let's do it together. Let's build standards, because standards not only allow to innovate faster and bring more talent into building better products, but also bring people together to bring that standard to the market and keep it open. And this is who we are, and that's what we would like to bring to the world, and that's what we'd like to partner with people in large offices. And for those customers for whom this is the right message, we're an ideal partner, and that's what we're looking for.
Well, me and David, unfortunately, won't be at the show this year, but we look forward to seeing Mirantis in the future, maybe at KubeCon North America. And lastly, where can people go if they want to find out more information about Mirantis and some of the things we talked about today?
Well, Mirantis, of course, is easy. It's Mirantis.com website. It talks about who we are and our products and all. But equally as importantly, we have a whole collection of open source projects that are out there that people should look at. So there is of course, k0rdent is k0rdent.io website, and k0rdent is part of our K0's product line. So it starts with K and 0, right? And it stands for zero maintenance, zero ops, zero friction, right? We make things that are easy for operators to work with. And, to this theme, of course, K0's has a website for the Kubernetes distro that we're trying to make not only the easiest one to manage, but also kind of the standard for AI use case. There is Cosmotron with a 0, which is our multi-cluster manager. And of course, our favorite project, which is Lens Kubernetes IDE. It's out there, it's available, so people can read about it and contribute, and that's what we're looking for.
Well, great. It was a pleasure speaking with you today, and thanks for taking the time to speak with VMblog.
It's my pleasure as well. Great talking to you. Bye-bye.